Welcome to the AI Super Campus, the ultimate destination for mastering business networking on the go in the age of AI. This is where your journey will transform your life and your business. This is where it begins. We'll dive deep into the power of ChatGPT networking on the go, unlocking the secrets to connecting your business in ways you never imagined. But that's not all. This is about more than just business. It's about celebrating love locally and nationally in everything you do. We are here to help you restore things, restore your life, your business, and your community by truly understanding the profound power of love. Together, let's create your future and a future for all of us where all parts of us thrive. Now is your moment. Register for free at aisupercampus.com with just your email. This is your gateway to a world of transformation. Stay tuned, because what you're about to experience just ahead is a game changer. Right now, I'm introducing our coaching from the AI Super Campus podcast listening education on the go. Dive into the world of AI audibles and ChatGPT networking on the go, where you'll discover the power of attraction media to bring into your life exactly what you need and want. And that's one of the big secrets of attraction media. So stay tuned right now to listen to our AI Super Campus co-host for podcast listening explain ChatGPT networking on the go.
Thank you, business networkers, for joining us today on the AI Super Campus podcast, Listening AI Audible, where we dive deep into the future of ChatGPT networking and how AI audibles can transform the way you grow your business, connect with others, and share your story anytime, anywhere. Stay tuned, because you're about to be part of a groundbreaking brainstorming mastermind session in progress. And this could change your entire perspective on business networking in the age of AI. You're not just listening to ideas, you're experiencing a live demonstration of how AI-powered podcast listening works to teach and engage your audience. We'll show you exactly how Kim and Ron, along with AI media marketing mastermind Mike Hayes, used ChatGPT networking to change the game. And this isn't just theory. We'll take you through a success story of how an entrepreneur went from struggling to a $200 million success story just by changing the narrative around his product through the power of direct response infomercial networking strategies. This could be the moment that changes everything for your business. It's not just a game changer, it could be a life changer. What you're about to hear is the power of AI education on the go, a real-time demonstration of how you can start using AI media marketing to teach others about your business, just like the masterminds you'll hear today. So let's jump in. This is Podcast Listening AI Audible, designed to help you learn, grow, and share your story in ways you never imagined.
Okay, let's dive into a stack of sources that really caught our eye this time.
Yeah, this one's interesting. It's based on a conversation from the material.
Right, a conversation that sort of explores these surprising links between, well, technology, community, and just changing how you look at things for business, for impact.
And it pulls together different threads, different people mentioned in the source. You've got Kim working on these independent media sites.
Okay.
Then Ron, who's in life insurance.
Right. Seems unrelated at first.
And Mike, who's deep into community stuff and also AI applications. It really does feel like listening in on a brainstorm.
Exactly. So our mission here is to kind of walk you through that conversation, pull out the key ideas, maybe find some of those aha moments.
Sort of a shortcut to understanding what the source material is getting at.
Yeah, how these ideas might connect, maybe spark something for your own work, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Getting those distilled insights without having to sift through it all yourself.
All right, so let's jump in. The first big thing they talk about, independent media sites. What exactly are these based on what the source says?
Okay, so the source describes them as these newer platforms, often using AI.
AI augmented.
Right. And the main idea is to create a central information hub for a business or maybe even an individual.
A hub for what kind of info?
Well, they aggregate content, lots of different feeds, RSS, blogs, podcasts, YouTube, even social media feeds. Pulls it all onto one website.
Ah, okay. So instead of your audience hunting everywhere, you bring the relevant streams to your site. Makes sense.
Exactly. And the goals mentioned are pretty clear. First, establish yourself as an authority. in your niche.
Right, become the go-to source.
Second, drive traffic back to your main website or presence. And third, potentially generate revenue, like selling ads directly on that media site.
Okay, selling ads makes sense. But they mentioned something else too, an AI reporter.
Yeah, that part was fascinating. It's described as this function where the AI doesn't just collect the content from the feeds, it analyzes it, and then it can actually repost content, but potentially with different perspectives or like personalities.
Wait, so it's creating new content based on the feeds, not just curating?
Kind of, yeah. Reinterpreting the stream, maybe?
Yeah.
That's a big step beyond just aggregation.
Wow. Yeah, that's different. And do they say if it's working? Any results mentioned?
They did. The source mentioned colleagues who've launched these.
Mm-hmm.
They're apparently seeing hundreds, even thousands of views pretty quickly, like within 90 days.
90 days. That's pretty compelling traffic velocity for something new.
It really is. Speaks to the potential, maybe the efficiency of this model. Plus, the source highlighted the control aspect.
Control, meaning?
You pick the feeds, so you control the incoming information. You can feature your own interviews, and you control the ad space, direct sponsorship opportunities.
Got it. Total control over the environment. They did mention one question, though, right? About archives.
Yeah, a practical point. Like, how long does the content from those feeds stick around? Is it archived permanently?
Yeah.
They noted that needed confirmation.
Okay, so a detail to iron out, but the big picture is becoming that central trusted source in your field.
Exactly. Positioning yourself as the authority. It's a real strategic move in today's information overload.
Okay, so the source then gives a specific example. Let's look at case study number 1. This site focused on sustainable investment news.
Right, and this one's directly linked to a digital marketing agency that focuses on climate issues.
Ah, so there's mission alignment there.
Definitely. The agency even plans to donate 10% of its revenue to climate nonprofits. They mention names like the Sierra Club, World Wildlife Fund.
Nice. Okay, so who is the sustainable investment news site for? Who are they trying to reach?
The target market seems really specific. Investment advisors, wealth advisors.
They're professionals, yeah.
But also independent investors, businesses, family offices, basically anyone interested in mission-driven funds. Specifically environmental, climate, nature-based stuff.
And this connects to something else the source brought up, which I thought was interesting.
What's that?
That a lot of investors, maybe most people, don't actually know what their money is funding. Is your 401k in fossil fuels, things like that, until you really look.
Right. And ESG funds, environment, social governance are presented as the alternative for people who want their investments to align with their values.
So the strategy for this media site, sustainableinvestmentnews.com, they mentioned they got the domain.
Yeah, good domain.
The strategy is to become the hub for that audience. They plan to interview advisors, offer those advisors ad space to reach that specific niche market.
Makes sense.
And then here's the clever part. Use the site's authority to maybe get those same advisors interested in having their own independent media site.
Ah, it's like an ecosystem play. Build a platform, attract the experts, then sell the platform to the experts. Pretty smart.
Yeah, it is. Okay, now the second case study seems totally different at first glance, but it connects in weird ways. Love Lafayette and ChatGPT networking.
This one's really rooted in a local community thing. The source tells this great story about Love Lafayette.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Apparently, it started like 25 years ago. A former mayor just handed out 5,000 Love Lafayette bumper stickers at some event. Didn't even ask the city for permission.
You see, just did it.
Yeah, and it just caught on. The community sort of adopted it organically, became a thing.
That's amazing. Grassroots branding, basically.
Totally. And now they're using the 25th anniversary as this year-long event, partnering with the Lafayette Historical Society. The idea I mentioned is learning from the past to construct the future.
Construct the future. I like that framing. And there's a philosophy behind it.
Yeah, the source talks about intentionally bringing love into business and marketing, like actual care and community focus.
Example.
They mentioned Subaru, Costco, companies known for having real brand love. It's this idea of love in, love out. Put positive energy and care in, get it back.
Okay, I can see that. And this ties back to the skills mentioned in the source.
It's exactly. Interviewing, media, marketing, storytelling, and also this recurring theme of helping people change their perspective.
Right, perspective shift, which leads us to ChatGPT networking. What is that?
So it's defined very specifically, not just using ChatGPT generally, but using it for networking.
Okay. Using AI for networking. That sounds new. How?
Yeah, the source called it potentially a whole new ballgame. Even floated the idea of a trade show of networking with ChatGPT.
A trade show. Wow.
And these independent media sites are seen as like one piece of this bigger concept.
So how do you network with ChatGPT? Is it talking to the AI or?
It seems more about using AI tools within the networking process and leveraging platforms like Mike's Instagram with, 60,000 followers to share these ideas, connect people.
Ah, okay. So using platforms about these AI networking ideas.
Yeah, and framing the whole initiative as this positive refuge from the chaos, trying to attract like-minded, positive people.
And they're tying it into real-world community stuff, too.
Definitely. Working with the Historical Society, thinking about big local events like the Lafayette Art and Wine Festival, apparently draws 100,000 people.
Wow.
And looking at how other towns have used art and wine to revitalize. They use that snowball effect metaphor again. Start small, build momentum.
It shows how these digital tools like the media sites aren't separate from real-world community building. They can feed each other.
Exactly. It's intertwined.
And speaking of perspective, that theme just keeps popping up in the source material, doesn't it? Across all these different examples. The power of changing perspective.
It's really central. The core idea is simple, but yeah, powerful. Change how you look at something, and the thing itself changes.
So in the Love Lafayette example, it's changing the perspective on networking from something maybe transactional to something about community and, well, love.
Right. And then they apply it directly to Ron's business, FinFit Life, the life insurance one.
Yeah, that tagline was really effective. Say it again.
Have you ever heard of a life insurance that pays you to be healthy?
See? It just stops you. Because, like we said, most people only think about the death benefit.
Exactly. It reframes the whole thing. The source talks about combining these two huge industries, health and insurance, to invent this totally different model.
Yeah.
It's shifting the perceived value.
And they use that visual example, too, the trash to art thing. That was powerful.
Oh, yeah, the Tom Deininger example from CBS Sunday Morning really sticks with you.
Describe it again because it illustrates the point so well.
So this artist collects tons of trash from the beach, just piles of junk, glues it all together. And at first it looks exactly like what it is, a pile of garbage.
Right, worthless clutter.
But then
Yeah.
he shows you, if you stand in one specific spot and look at the pile, it suddenly forms a perfect shape. A parrot, a boat, something recognizable and honestly beautiful.
It's incredible. It just snaps into focus.
And it's such a clear metaphor, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something dismissed as worthless becomes art, just by changing your viewing angle, your perspective.
And the source uses that to say, okay, apply that to business, apply it to life insurance, apply it to, well, anything you're stuck on. How can you find that different angle?
It's a real challenge because we do get stuck seeing the trash, you know? How do you even start looking for that other angle?
That's the million-dollar question. And they even connect this perspective idea to using AI like ChatGPT.
Right. It's not just a chatbot. Think of it as an advisor or a therapist or a scheduler. It depends on the perspective you bring to it.
And the source had that great tip. Don't just ask it questions.
Ask it to ask you questions
Hmm.
to help you solve your problem.
Okay, that's a cool flip. How would that work? Like for scheduling a busy day?
Exactly. Instead of just listing tasks and saying, make me a schedule, you might give it your tasks, your constraints, and then ask it to ask you clarifying questions.
Like what?
Like, what's the real priority here? What time of day do you have the most energy? What does done look like for this task? It helps you think it through.
Ah, so it guides your thinking process.
Yeah. And then it helps structure the day, maybe time block, create checklists. It's automating more than just the list making. It's helping with the prioritization and structure.
That's another great example of changing perspective, changing how you interact with the tool.
And the overall message from the source is that life, especially now with AI booming, feels kind of under construction.
Under construction.
Meaning
Okay.
always changing.
Yeah, and it's active. It requires doing things, networking, checking in, following up, not just sitting back, taking action.
And this perspective shift, seeing possibilities and taking action, they suggest applying it broadly.
Yeah, the source mentions thinking about how this could help different groups, seniors using tech, young people finding work, single moms facing challenges. It's a versatile mindset.
Okay, so building on that under construction idea and the love in, love out thing, the source really doubles down on community networking and building relationships.
Yeah, it's not just big picture stuff like Love Lafayette. It's also about the small things, like deliberately reconnecting with old contacts.
Just grabbing coffee. Exactly. Simple stuff. The source emphasized that saying, it's not who you know, it's who knows you. Which means You have to be out there, be visible, connect.
That's so true. It takes effort. I know I sometimes let connections slide.
We all do. And they mentioned specific ways people in the source were doing this, like inviting people to events. Remember the Lafayette Chamber Connectors meeting?
Oh yeah, the speed networking, musical chairs thing sounds fun, actually.
Right. And the source gave the details. Lafayette, $20, coffee and croissants included, using local real-world events like that.
So leveraging existing structures.
Yeah. And also being targeted online, like the idea of finding retired financial advisors on LinkedIn who care about sustainability.
For the Sustainable Investment News Project.
Exactly. Reaching out, seeing if they'll tap into their networks. They also mentioned connecting with St. Mary's College, promoting that free AI super campus thing for students, building bridges.
And thinking about different types of networking, too.
Yeah, the source contrasted smaller core masterminds, maybe 5 to 10 people for deeper bonds, with those larger events for broader reach. Different formats for different goals.
And the motivation. It came back to that love idea again.
It did. Doing things for love as well as for money. Feeling energized by genuine connection. They even mentioned inviting a retired friend, Joel Sachs, just to participate for the camaraderie, for the love of it.
That really highlights the personal side of it all. It's not just transactions.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
They talked about being flexible, letting that snowball effect happen in community building.
Yeah.
Starting small, letting it grow organically.
But maybe needing to manage the size eventually?
Yeah, maybe capping groups so they don't get overwhelming. Supporting each other's local meetings too. Just creating deliberate ways to connect online and offline.
It helps to see concrete examples, which brings us to the tangible examples and tools mentioned in the source because, seeing is believing.
Totally. They gave that example website, casttv.com, CASSTV.com.
Right. And how is it described?
As really eye-popping, visually impactful. Makes you want to scroll, see what's there. It serves as a kind of model for the independent media sites Kim is building.
Okay, so a visual anchor. What about tools?
They mentioned using AI for very practical stuff, like using Perplexity specifically to find RSS feeds for setting up one of these media sites.
Oh, interesting. Specific use case.
Yeah. And also just using the general AI tools, ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, for quick tech support, like figuring out why your Zoom background isn't working or some setting on your Android phone, getting fast answers.
Stuff that can waste so much time otherwise.
Exactly. Speed and efficiency. They also recommended a resource for learning AI.
The Coursera one.
Yeah, that 5-minute-a-day video series.
Yeah.
And they noted the expert was visually memorable long dreadlocks, apparently. Made the learning stick.
Huh. Little details like that help. And finally, documenting the process.
Right, the idea of journaling the journey,
Mm-hmm.
tracking the growth of these projects, seeing how they evolve, capturing that under construction phase in real time.
Turning the process itself into something tangible.
You got it.
Okay, so let's zoom back out. We've gone through this source material, unpacked these independent media sites as a potential tool.
Yeah, for building authority online.
We've really explored this core theme of changing perspective, the trash to art, the life insurance reframing, using AI differently.
How shifting your view can unlock so much.
And we've seen the emphasis on actively building community, networking, making real connections, both online and off.
All framed within this idea of actively, consciously constructing your future, not just letting it happen.
The source really did weave together technology, mindset, and human connection in some surprising ways. Found connections I wouldn't have expected.
Me neither. Some genuinely interesting insights emerged from that conversation they captured.
So as you, our listener, are navigating your own path, learning, building, here's something to maybe chew on from this deep dive.
A final thought.
Yeah. How can you apply this idea of changing perspective right now? Is there a challenge at work, a personal habit, maybe your whole vision for the future that could benefit from looking at it from a completely different angle?
What tools might help you do that? Could be AI, could be a simple conversation.
Or maybe it's about relationships. Who could offer you that fresh vantage point? And maybe, just maybe, how could embracing the idea that your own path is under construction, that it's okay for it to be messy, evolving, actively built, how could that empower your very next step?
Something definitely worth reflecting on. Lots of possibilities there.
But wait, there's more. You've just experienced the power of AI audibles, and I hope you're starting to see how this tool can completely transform the way you connect and share knowledge. But what if I told you this is just the beginning? What if you could take that very same power and turn it into your own personalized podcast listening AI Audible, available anytime, anywhere. Well, now it's time to hear from the source of this transformation. You're about to learn how Mike Hayes, a self-described miserable failure, used the exact same direct response networking strategies that you've just heard to turn his business around and drive $200 million in sales. Mike did this through his conversational infomercial approach, showing how to connect deeply with an audience and turn those connections into loyal customers and clients. Mike's here to show you exactly how you can do the same with your story. He's going to guide you step by step through how to create your own AI Audible to share your message, build relationships, and make a bigger impact on your terms. So get ready. Here's Mike Hayes, your coach, guiding you to unlock the future of podcasts, listening AI Audibles, and turn your message into something people can learn from anytime, anywhere.
Okay, let's jump right in. We're doing a deep dive today into a really fascinating story from direct response marketing.
Yeah, it's one of those classic cases. Looks like an overnight success, but there's a lot underneath.
Exactly. We've got this great excerpt detailing the journey of Zap and also Restore 4. It covers, the whole arc, concept to massive revenue.
Tens of millions, yeah. And the source material, it lays out the numbers, the core strategies.
And crucially, this networker figure, Mike Hayes, referred to as the network king or the source.
Right. And our goal here isn't just to retell the story. We want to really unpack it.
Pull out the strategies people can actually use, right? Understand the growth, how they scaled.
And the relationships, because the source makes it clear. Those were absolutely key. What are the real lessons here for anyone trying to build something?
Absolutely. And when we talk success, it was explosive right from the start, not a slow burn.
No, the source calls it a rocket ship. Early days, just selling 5,000 units. That was already bringing in $50,000 a month cash flow.
Which, look, that's a decent business on its own for a lot of people.
For sure. But that was just, the warm-up act.
Because then came the real launch, January 97.
And by the end of that first month, get this, $1 million a month. On television?
$1 million in month one.
And the source is very specific, very, very profitably. That kind of profitable scale right away, it's incredibly rare.
Mind-boggling, really. And it wasn't just Zap, right? They had Restore 4, too.
Yeah, the source calls it Zap's knockoff. They took that one to QVC.
How'd that do?
Pulled in about $83,000 net airing dollars. Not the TV numbers, obviously, but significant.
And smart because they didn't just pocket it.
No, they reinvested it. That QVC money funded the long-form infomercial.
Okay. And the source says that was the key piece.
Yeah, key to putting them over the top as far as financially. It shows that smart feedback loop, right? A smaller win funding the bigger strategic move.
And the growth just kept coming. It wasn't a flash in the pan.
Not at all. The revenue numbers are pretty stark. Year one, $300K, then $7 million. Wow.
Then $15 million, $42 million, peaking at $63 million in 2001.
$63 million. That's sustained dramatic growth year after year. From essentially one core product line sold through TV.
It really is something.
Yeah.
And maybe even more unusual is how long it lasted.
Right. Direct response TV, it often burns bright and fast, doesn't it?
Usually, yeah. But Zap is called an enigma in the source material.
Because
it ran continuously, on air for 5 straight years, never took a day off.
5 years maintaining profitable DRTV advertising for that long, that's highly unusual.
Extremely. And even in year 4, the source mentions it was still hitting peaks, like $485,000 a week, profitable.
So years in, still almost peak performance, not just limping along.
Exactly. Still a powerhouse.
And they didn't just stick to TV either. The source mentions retail.
Yeah, they made the leap into Costco, made their first $1 million there. So build the engine on TV, then find other channels. Smart diversification.
Okay, so garage to $63 million. How? The source really hammers on this idea, doesn't it? Products don't sell themselves. Exactly. It's all about the value proposition, the USP.
And this is where that cleaner versus restorer idea comes in. I thought that was brilliant.
It really is. Someone apparently balked at paying $20 for a tile cleaner.
Makes sense.
And the insight shared is, yeah, you can't really sell a simple cleaner for $20 via DRTV to a mass market.
But you can sell a restorer for $20.
Right. Because the customer's mental math is totally different. A cleaner, it's just maintenance, maybe worth a few bucks.
But a restorer.
A restorer, as the source points out, saves you potentially thousands. The cost of replacing a bathtub, a shower, a sink, Suddenly, $20 looks incredibly cheap compared to that alternative.
That's the core of it, isn't it? The product was a cleaner, technically, but they didn't sell it that way.
Nope. They sold the transformation, the massive savings.
And that slogan captured it perfectly. Don't replace it, restore it.
Exactly. Identified the niche, hammered the value. It wasn't about the formula. It was about the financial win for the homeowner.
So smart. But okay, even with all that money rolling in, their operations sound surprisingly grounded.
Yeah, conservative is the word the source uses, which is kind of counterintuitive when you're doing $1 million a month.
Counterintuitive is putting it mildly. The source says they didn't even quit their day jobs right away.
Can you believe it? $1 million a month and still punching the clock. It completely flies in the face of the usual scale-up story.
Right. And working out of garages initially.
2 garage offices, yeah, before getting a proper space. And the core principle mentioned was just be conservative. Put most of the profit away for a rainy day.
No flashy spending, no huge overhead, just because the revenue was there.
It suggests a very deliberate, risk-aware approach, even with that crazy top-line growth.
It wasn't about looking big, it was about being solid.
And a big part of generating that volume, that sheer scale, comes down to automation, or what the source calls the sales robot.
I love that term, the sales robot, the commercial or infomercial itself.
Yeah, and the advantage is pretty clear, right? Humans have limits, we need sleep, we work shifts.
A sales robot doesn't. It works 20/47.
That's the power. The source talks about the kind of money it could bring in, like $35,000 on a bad night.
35 grand while you sleep.
And a couple $100,000 on a good night.
Right.
Just generated by the robot, working tirelessly.
That puts the volume into perspective. And the unit numbers are wild, too.
Selling 2,000 to 3,000 units on a Monday morning, hitting 10,000, maybe 15,000 units on a Saturday.
Just churning out sales, that's how you hit those huge revenue figures.
Yeah, the source puts it up there with other massive DRTV hits like Tybo, Coral Calcium.
Yeah.
It was playing in that league.
Okay, so strategy, value prop, automation, all crucial. But the source is really clear. None of this happens in a vacuum. You need support.
Absolutely, especially in this industry. Direct response is described as close and tight-lived.
Meaning it's hard to break in.
Yeah.
Hard to get the right info.
Extremely. How to make the spots, where to run them profitably, who the key players are. That information is guarded. Often costs you like a percentage of your business.
And this is where the networker comes in again. My case. The source.
Exactly. He's credited with providing that essential access, making the introductions in an industry that's otherwise pretty closed off.
And the speaker in the source material is really open about this, admitting they failed trying it alone.
Twice. Failed twice before meeting Mike Hayes, which says a lot.
And that analogy they use, the bellows. Thought that was great.
It really paints a picture, doesn't it? Mike Hayes was the bellows. They had the spark, the idea.
But he provided the wind, the connections, the guidance, the access, especially when time was running out for them.
Turn that spark into a real fire.
But it's also clear he wasn't just some kind of magician, right?
No, the source clarifies that. He wasn't a hero figure who did it for them. You still needed common sense, a good product, the drive.
His role was guidance and opening doors.
Right. And the source appreciates his approach, like holding your hand sometimes, but also kicking you in the butt when needed.
Telling you what's real and what's not real. Providing that vital reality check.
Which is invaluable, and it leads to that point about perseverance. You just can't give up and you can't quit when you fail the first time, especially if you know you have something good.
And trying to figure out this tough industry alone, it's expensive.
Potentially hugely expensive. The source contrasts maybe spending $300,000 just to find out you were wrong.
Versus the minimal cost of getting involved with the networker, which gave them a much safer, guided way to test things.
Makes sense. More conservative, less risky.
Okay, so professional network, crucial. But the source also brings up something else, equally important. Personal support.
Yeah, great support at home. This is presented as almost like foundational.
Non-negotiable, maybe. Especially for something this high risk.
Seems like it. The specific example is the speaker's wife, Mary. Her attitude sounds amazing.
Whatever you want to do, do it. I know you'll land on your feet. Just total belief.
Imagine having that behind you. The source points out if your partner is constantly negative or risk averse, that's almost impossible to push through.
Yeah, that constant headwind at home would be draining.
But Mary was not risk averse at all. Her belief was a wonderful whole thing to have. It's a good reminder that success isn't just business tactics, that personal foundation matters a lot.
Hugely. Okay, so wrapping up the practical side, investment and common sense.
Right. The reality check. Marketing costs money, no way around it, especially in direct response.
Yes, spend to reach people.
Yeah. The goal, they say, was getting costs to the bare bones minimum, but crucially, not less than what was needed for a successful launch.
Finding that balance.
Yeah.
And it comes back to not going it alone.
Definitely. Trying this industry solo is framed as just foolish.
Right.
It will eat you up and spit you out, the source says bluntly.
Even if you're tough. The speaker admits they were close to quitting before meeting the networker.
So yeah, there's industry knowledge you need, but a lot of it, according to the source, is just common sense.
The catch being,
Not a lot of people have common sense. You need at least a pound of it, they say, to do well.
maybe that's where the guidance comes in again, bringing that external dose of common sense.
Could be. Okay, so let's tie this all together. We've seen this incredible ride with Zap and Restore 4.
Yeah, leveraging that powerful value proposition. Restoration, savings, not just cleaning, building that amazing sales robot for automation.
Seeing that surprisingly conservative approach, even during massive growth, and really understanding it wasn't a solo effort.
Needed that key networker, the bellows, to navigate a tricky industry, and absolutely depended on that support at home.
It's a fascinating mix, isn't it? Market insight, solid execution, timing, guidance, and that personal bedrock.
Shows that even in something that looks purely transactional like DRTV, success is still deeply human, deeply relational.
For sure.
So thinking about that crucial role of connections, guidance, someone believing in you, here's something for you, the listener, to mull over. How do you identify your potential bellows, that person, that resource that can give you the win, the connections, or just that dose of common sense when you're facing your own big challenges, trying to turn your own spark into a fire?
We then tried it again knowing that we had learned everything we needed to know the first time, and it failed. We happened to meet you at that point in time. We were down with our fulfillment company, and that was the beginning of a $200 million run.
What would your life be like today if you had quit after those first disastrous tests?
How would you like to make 35 grand a night in your sleep? Because that's what I was doing on a bad night. And on a good night, I was making a couple $100 grand a night. My wife wanted this farm. I just wrote a check to buy the farm. My wife wanted a Lexus. I got a Lexus. Life changes tremendously when you have money. And I'll give you an example. People who need help, you can help. When you want to make a business decision, you want to buy a company, you can buy a company. Time changes. Your kids can go and do what they want to do. I haven't changed much as far as my values or anything else. It's just my ability to touch other people's lives has changed tremendously.
Products don't sell themselves. Isn't it more about the unique selling proposition?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's very, very simple, the analogy of a cleaner versus a restorer. I had a guy look at me saying, how the heck are you going to sell a tile cleaner for $20? The truth is you don't sell a tile cleaner for $20. You can sell a restorer for $20 because what's it cost to replace a bathtub? A couple $1,000 to rip it out and do all the plumbing and everything else? Before I met you, there was no one that I really had met. You never made me a promise that you couldn't fulfill on. It's great to have a bellows. And you were my bellows. You stoked my fire as far as getting my company and my project off the ground. You introduced me to everybody, and without which the wind would have blown my fire out because time was just working against me. And the fact that you came into my life when you did was that bellows, that there was still a spark left, and I was able to blow that spark into a very big fire and burn the house down. The reality is I did. We've worked really well together for many, many years. And I will give a recommendation to you, one of the best, if not the best out there, if not the only person out there that will hold your hand when it's appropriate and kick you in the butt when you need it and tell you what's real and what's not real. You can't give up and you can't quit when you fail the first time. It's one of those things that when you sit down and look at what you do, you're a fool to try it alone. This is an industry that will eat you up and spit you out no matter how tough you are, and I'm a pretty tough guy when it comes to business. It was eating me up, and the reality is I was about to quit till I met you. I'm the example of tried it before I met you, and I failed twice before I met you. There's a lot to know about the industry. We learned it. It's not that difficult. Most of it's common sense, but not a lot of people have common sense. But if you have a handful of common sense, or a pound of it at least, you can probably do well in this industry.